Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Distance Dilemma podcast. My name is Shaun. I am in Dublin, Ireland. This is Imran. He is in Thun, Switzerland. This is our long distance friendship podcast. This is episode number 45. Thank you very much for joining us. We are going to kick this episode off with out of context weekly scenarios. This is the part of the show where me and Imran give each other a section of our week out of context, and the other person has to try and guess what's going on. So, Imran, what is your out of context weekly scenario?
I was thinking if you were going to mess up the episode numbers there, but you did well.
Well,
You
the
were like,
thing
you were
is,
like,
I started saying that, and I totally forgot what number we were on. So, I kind of, was in the background just, scrolling on my Mac and being like, what fucking episode do I have saved last? And I saw 44, so it means we're on episode number 45. So,
even this
I almost fucked it up, but I didn't.
yeah, yeah. Even
And
this
the
morning when
cat's
I
out of
was
the bag
doing,
anyway.
yeah, even this morning when I was doing the four pictures, like out of context scenario, um, I completely messed up the numbers originally. Like I put 45 and then I was like, hold on, is it 45 or 44? I had to go back and listen to the episode, even though I was already listening to it at this, because normally when I'm doing the clips, for I know people are listening to our whole conversation here about who does the edits and everything, but basically on Mondays I'll do the four pictures out of context, and then I'll listen to the clips and send the time for Shaun to make the clips. And so I was doing it at the same time, but I was already 15 minutes into the episode, and then I forgot what episode the podcast was, and I was like, shit. So I had to go all the way back and then start the whole clips again. So I was like, but anyway.
So, if the
Yes,
clips aren't fired this week, you can blame Imran.
yeah, blame me. Yeah. So, my out of context weekly scenario is Midnight Meltdown.
Okay, was this in work?
No.
Was this at home?
Yes.
Okay. I'm assuming one of you or Nicola had a meltdown.
Yes.
Did you have a meltdown?
Yes.
Was this over something got to do with the podcast?
No.
Was this something got to do with cooking?
No.
Something got to do with work, work
No.
related, or
No.
something got to do with a friend group, someone
No.
texted
No.
you something.
No. No. No.
Were you trying to put something up? Were you trying to do some housework DIY?
I was doing some. I was trying to put something together.
Okay, were you doing Lego?
Yes.
Okay, so were you putting something together? You couldn't find a piece, and then you just had a meltdown.
Yeah, yeah, I'll give it to you because it's quite on the right concept. So essentially, Nicola got me, or sorry, I was in the shop last week, and if you haven't seen there behind me, for anyone that's listening on the Spotify or Apple Music, they're not gonna know what I'm talking about. But right behind me on YouTube, there's Lego heads here because I'm a child. So I was doing Lego at midnight the other night, and I told Nicola, I was like, "Oh, sure, I'm gonna have this done in an hour." But for whatever reason, I kept putting they normally come in bags 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I was on the fourth bag, and for whatever reason I kept putting the piece on completely wrong. So when I put it onto the Lego piece, it would just keep falling off, or wouldn't look right. And no joke, it took me 2.5 hours, and then I says on each bag in the corner optimal times, to say how long you should spend on each bag, and it said 15 minutes. Right, right. So obviously I was getting super frustrated because I was like, "What? Why is this not going together?" Right? And eventually, then I got it. I got it around, I'd say 1:30. I started at 12, so I finished around 1:30. I was like, "Sweet, I've got it." And then I got up to go to the bathroom, and I knocked the bottom of it off, and it landed and smashed all over the floor. Now it wasn't the whole thing smashed, just the piece I was working on. And
Yeah.
I literally was standing like this. For anyone in the context again, I was standing in the middle of the room, holding my face, bright red. And Nicola obviously heard the smash because she was sleeping. So she came in and was like, "Are you okay?" She's like, "Did I?" And I was just standing there like this. And she was like, "Did I do something wrong?" I was like, "Nicola, I'm gonna have a mental breakdown." I was like, "I'm after working on this Lego piece for the past 2.5 hours, and I'm just after dropping and smashing it." And she just looked at me like, what just happened? Because it's 2:30 in the morning. She's up for work at 5, and she's looking at me like, "Why is this? Why are you doing this now? Why can't you just wait till tomorrow and play video games or watch a movie or something?" So I literally had to bring her to bed, and then I refused. She was like, "Come on, man, come to bed," and I was like, "You know what? I'm actually that's stubborn as a person. I need to finish this so then I can go to bed." Eventually, then I took my time. I literally was watching every page, every piece so carefully. I put it together. I literally took my hands away and I was like, "Right, I'm going to bed." And it was 3:30. So instead of it being 15 minutes, it took me nearly 3.5 hours for this one piece.
Jesus.
Yeah, man. Yeah, man.
Did you see? I saw something. I saw. I'm not really into. Well, I like the idea of Lego, but the reason I don't collect it is because I haven't got the space to store them
Space.
once they're done.
Yeah.
But I saw something this week, and I was kind of like, I would actually kind of like this. It was a Lego World Cup trophy replica. Did you see that?
Yeah, yeah. I
That
seen
looks
they released
sick.
that. Yeah, they're
That looks really
supposing
cool.
FIFA want to do a deal now where they're releasing a lot of the trophies. So they want to do like a Premier League one, and they want to do a UEFA Champions League one. The World Cup was obviously because of the premise of it's coming up. But I was actually thinking that would be such a sick collection to get, like all
Yeah,
like the major trophies, like the Euros, the World Cup, the Premier League.
yeah,
I can see that
that's
happening.
something that I would consider buying, or like
There's
that's
actually a
something I
really
would want, like because I feel like that's something you can display properly a bit more, like
mm.
whereas like I just don't really have the room to display, but like that's something I would make room for because it looks really cool, you know.
There's a really cool one I want, but I'll like never be able to. Well, I'll probably never spend the money on it unless someone gifted it to me. It was like it's like Old Trafford, but it's like done with like the Lego pieces. They've actually done one for a couple of Premier League teams. I think Liverpool have one. I
I think
think
Arsenal have.
Arsenal have one as well. I don't know if Stamford Bridge has one. I
I
could
don't
I
think
could be
so.
I
No,
could be wrong. That would be pretty cool though. Like
that would be
it, and
sick.
it's like the replica, and it's actually fairly big. Like I was surprised how big the sizing of it was. But yeah, this is why you should not have adult money.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
facts.
literally facts. So, what is your weekly? Hopefully, you didn't have a mental breakdown like I did.
Not well. I did. This is not to do with my out of context. I'll tell you about this really quickly before I go into it. But I did have like
Okay.
a sort of breakdown yesterday in the shops, and I was going to use this for my out of context, but I thought one, it's a bit too boring, and it's also going to be really hard for you to guess without me kind of just blatantly telling you the facts of it. But like
Right, right.
I was in Dunn's yesterday doing the big shop, and like I fully just broke down and was like, "Fuck this! I want a pizza and I want cookies."
Oh, okay, yeah,
I
yeah.
just fully was like because I don't know, and I wouldn't mind, like I've not had a particularly good week when it comes to my diet. Now that was planned, like I had kind of planned for like last week and the week before to be not like breaks, but I knew it was going to be harder to track because I was at the we talked about last week. I was at so many Corona's gigs, and then I went up for
hmm
another Corona's gig in Belfast, and I was just like going out with friends a lot and eating out a lot. And like I was doing my best to like calculate the calories and like stay in my deficit, but it's also really hard to be accurate with that.
Yeah,
And also like it's now as we're recording this Christmas week, like so we're gonna be going up to Simone's mom's and stuff, and it's gonna be hard to track. So I was very like, no, like I need to like stay on the ball like for today and tomorrow. Like I need to be on the ball with like my tracking and what I'm
yeah.
eating. I need to be really consistent. I need to go to the gym and do all these extra things. And like I was in Dunn's yesterday and I just fully snapped and was like, I want a fucking cookie. I want a Dunn Stores bakery cookie, and I want. And Simone was like, I want a pizza. Like, let's get a pizza. And specifically, the own brand Dunn's chicken goujons that you get in the fridge. I don't know what it is about them, but when you whack them things in the air fryer, they're just incredible. And I just snapped and I was like, I fucking want them now. And I don't regret it in the slightest. I'm very happy with my decisions.
There's sometimes that you just need like the cravings just come out of nowhere, and you're like, you know what? I deserve this. I've worked too hard to not have this right now.
Yeah, yeah, fully. But anyway, that's a different like mental breakdown I had yesterday in Dunn's and Crumlin. But so my out of context weekly scenario is I ended up somewhere I should not have been.
You ended up somewhere you should have not have been. Uh, was this because you were telling me not to go, you were not going to go to the Coronas gig, so you actually ended up going to it?
No.
No, that because that's actually not this week. I think it's next week, or I could be
Yeah,
wrong.
you're
The
correct.
Get
Yeah,
Clarny gig, yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay,
yeah.
so is it anything to do with the Coronas or anything like that?
Sort of. Yeah.
Okay, so it was down in Belfast, I'm presuming the context of
Yes, it was in Belfast.
it. Right, right. Did you did you go to the pub
No,
in Belfast? No.
no.
Did you go to the wrong side in Belfast for context because we are from the south, so it's a bit dodgy for us.
Kind of. Yes.
Okay, so did you somehow end up in a very Protestant-based area, which is not good for us Southerners,
Um. No. Nothing about. There's nothing.
to do
Sacrilegious.
with sacrilegious? Okay,
Yeah. About. But you're on the right scent. Like in terms of I ended up in somewhere in Belfast I shouldn't have been.
Right. So you were in a pretty dodgy area in Belfast.
No,
Um.
I wouldn't call it dodgy.
Right. Right. Okay. Were you by yourself or with a group of people?
I was with two other people.
Two other people. So you were with two other people. You were heading to the gig. You took maybe a wrong turn,
Yes.
and you ended up somewhere. I'm trying to think, like, 'cause I don't know Belfast that well.
Yeah,
Hmm.
I think I'll give it to you based off that because I think anything else is a
Yeah.
bit too specific and like it's no,
Right.
there's no like real um like no key points like there's no like that it's
Right.
not like we ended up at the Titanic building instead of the venue
Yeah,
or
yeah,
something like
yeah.
that like
That's
no
like that area of Belfast I know because we stayed there. So like I
yeah
know like I could walk around and remember my way around there, but
mm,
anywhere outside of Belfast main city, I haven't a clue.
yeah I'm the exact same
Yeah, yeah.
so the full context behind that is this is my first time driving to Belfast. I've been to Belfast loads,
Yeah.
and like you, I know my way around Belfast city centre pretty well. Like I can walk from both the train stations around, like around to Victoria Square and
Hmm.
around that kind of like central area. I know my way around there pretty well, but I've never driven up. And from everything anybody has ever told me is it's just a straight dart up the M1, and then you get onto the A81, back onto the M1, and then you're pretty much into Belfast city centre, and that's grand. So that's fine. But on this day, there was also a massive crash on the M1. So when we're heading up, my maps reroutes me and tells me to go a certain way through Navan and through Johnstown and stuff. And I was like, this doesn't seem right. But then one of the girls in the back of the car said, oh, one of the other girls who was coming to the gig who was travelling herself just got told there was a massive crash on the M1 to avoid. So maps obviously rerouted us before we got up to the crash. So that's fine. Uh, but the problem was when we crossed over the border, for some reason my phone's 5G just didn't connect.
Oh
So
no.
we kept going and going and going. And I just was looking at signs saying, and I was getting a feeling something was off as I was driving up because we ended up back onto the A81, back onto the motorways. And
Yeah.
I was just like, something just doesn't feel 100% about the way that we're going right now. Because I was just following signs. I was following my phone, and then if a sign said Belfast, I just jumped in that lane and kept going. Like,
Yeah,
play
yeah.
it simple.
Of course.
But somewhere I took a wrong turn. And if there was basically, and when I came back around, there was a roundabout, and there was a sign that said Belfast. And then there was like the next exit, which also had the sign that said Belfast, but said Belfast M1, and that's where I should have gone. But I went onto this other one, which took me on to a couple of back roads.
Right.
And because I have no Wi-Fi, as I take this road, it's trying to reroute me, but I've no signal for some reason. This was able to be
Right.
sorted out later on, but like I didn't
Yeah,
know why
yeah.
at the time. So like I'm going down this back road, and all of a sudden there's like fuck all lights. There's loads of traffic, and things just don't seem right. So I pulled in and was like, "What the fuck's going on here?" So anyway, get that sorted, get rerouted, get my internet sorted, blah blah. So I then had to do a U-turn on this back road that's full of cars, and no one's let me out. Like no
Of
one. So
course.
what I ended up having to do was I came back onto my side of the road. I saw some houses up the top, so I just pulled into someone's
Pulled in
garden to
someone's
do a
gaff.
U.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah.
But as I mentioned, the people in the north, they must have saw my southern reg and just said,
Yeah.
fuck this fella, he's not getting out. So I pull into this garden and we're parked there for a good 2 or 3 minutes and I'm like reversing out. I'm trying to kind of like force someone to let me out.
But no one's letting you, of
No
course.
one's let me out. And then some old man just starts to come out of the house. And like this fella is at least 85 years of age and he's also got a walking stick. And he's walking so slowly towards the car, and it gets to the point where I now have to roll my window down and speak to this man because he's nearly. It's not like he's gone past his porch now, and
Yeah.
no one's still letting me out. So
Right.
this fellow, with a big, thick Belfast accent, he's like, "Are you guys all right there?" And I was like, "I'm really sorry, my maps
Brought me the
sent
wrong
me the
way.
wrong direction. I just said I took a wrong turn. I just need to do a
Yeah.
U-turn and get back out on the road." And he
Yeah.
goes, "Well, half your arse is out on the road, so you'd want to pull into the garden, wouldn't you?" But it just turned into this really, really awkward moment with this old man from Belfast.
He's just
And
standing there with his board.
and then what made it, I don't know if this, like, it obviously kind of helped, but it also was, like, way more embarrassing that he, like, got on the road himself and stopped cars and, like, guided us
No
out.
way.
And I
No
was like,
way.
oh my god. I was like, thank you, sir. Thank you. Oh my fucking god. And I was just scarlet. I was just so embarrassed.
This is like a Northern Irish version of the movie Monster House.
Yeah.
Instead of saying "get off my lawn," he just like basically was being sassy.
No, to be fair, like he came out with I think it was more just like I was quite, you know, on edge because of what happened as well, and he was being like
Yeah,
sound lovely, but it was just also quite intimidating that he like rocked up with a big thick Belfast accent, being like, "Are you guys all
yeah, I
right
know.
there?"
Especially from like us growing up in the south, like we're kind of like not told, but like you're being made aware of how interesting it can be when you drive up the north and when you're around in a reg.
Yeah,
it,
yeah.
it can be an
Um,
interesting time for us southerners.
yeah, you gotta be careful with what you say and how you speak up the north. Let's just say
Of
that because
course, of
if you
course,
say the wrong
understandably,
thing in the
yeah.
wrong neighborhood in the wrong street, you could get some. You could get followed back to your hotel room. Let's just say that.
But overall, it was a good trip.
Good trip overall. Yeah, I love Belfast. Got to try Chick-fil-A for the first time as well,
Yes,
which
yeah.
is up on a service station on the like up the top of the M1.
It's in an
Um,
Apple Green, am I wrong? Or
it is in
no?
Apple
Yeah,
Green,
yeah,
yeah, which is
yeah.
kind of mad for like the first Chick-fil-A to just like be in a service station, like not in a city center. You know, I get it's probably because Apple Green have the rights to it of some sorts. It's the same reason Taco Bell's in Apple Green in Dunshaughlin randomly for some
Yeah, yeah.
reason, like you know.
Randomly, yeah. But a lot of
Um,
people do travel out to it, though. I've seen a lot of people I know on
Yeah,
social
it's
media and
pretty
stuff
good.
like that.
I have to admit, I definitely enjoyed it. I would definitely go back. Like, we couldn't go on the way back, so we had to like come up the M1 and basically get on the opposite side of the M1 just to go to the Chick-fil-A, and then come back onto the north side of the M1 just to go back into Belfast. So we ended up doing
Yeah,
like 2 or 3 loops of Belfast to go and get this
hey,
Chick-fil-A. But
worth it.
it was worth it. I would say it was worth it. It's definitely. I think if you're in Belfast or if you're driving up to Belfast, it's definitely worth the little detour. I was saying to Simone, like next time I go up or next time we go up together, you know, I would definitely like go again. But it's not something that I'm like every time I go to Belfast I have to go. It's not that. Have you had Wendy's before?
I haven't had Wendy's, no, but I've had a lot of food when I went to Belfast with Nicola the first time, and I have to say I was really surprised. I actually thought people were like really nice to us. I really enjoyed the food I had there. They're very good for their brunch places as well. They're kind of coming similar to very like much like Dublin. I also work with a guy from Belfast, and he was saying like there's loads of places I need to try when I return home. Like,
Yeah, I
maybe
love
we might
Belfast
do a
is
trip when we go to
class.
Belfast. Yeah.
Yeah, I genuinely I love Belfast. It's one of my favorite places in Ireland. Like I go up like usually once or twice a year, and like it's just such. It's ironically it's somewhere I feel very safe. I feel like a lot more safe in Belfast than I do in Dublin. Like it's little things like whipping your phone out on the street and like listening to music. Like I feel a lot more safe doing that sort of stuff in Belfast than I would do in Dublin. You know.
True, true. Shout out to the Belfasters. I
Yeah.
don't know
Sure.
what you call people from Belfast. I just made that up.
Yeah.
Swiftly moving on. So I decided to pick the topic for this week, and it's actually been on my mind the past like 3 weeks because recently, you'd work them midweek shifts in work, and it just be so mundane that you start trying to keep yourselves entertained because there's only so many spots you can clean in a kitchen.
Mm.
Sean definitely knows that from working in the donut shop.
Yeah.
The concept for this week is ridiculous $1 million ideas. I didn't want something that you full on think out and it's like this big bizarre thing, but I wanted to make it like it's similar to the Dragon's Den type. Did you just blow your phone up there, or what
No,
the hell just happened?
I have my little notepad with my notes, and I
Okay.
just flicked it, and it just kind of like flipped up and waxed down on my desk. Sorry about that,
Your
folks. Sorry for the
your
audio
your
listeners.
your ADHD kicked in. Yeah. So do you want me to go first? You want
Yeah,
to go
yeah,
first? Okay. So I'll go first. Right. So let me give you the context first before I give you my pitch. Right. So yourself and Simone, you go out for a meal. You maybe had a bit of a light lunch, or maybe had a bit of lunch about an hour or two before. But you go out for your meal. You want to have a 3-course meal, nice little fancy dinner, and you're talking between each other. You'll probably get a starter, a main, dessert, and coffee. That's like most people when they go out for like a fancy meal. That's kind of like the step process. But
fairly
a lot of the time
self-contained,
now,
yes.
yeah. But a lot of time with couples now, when they go out for a meal, they get, they have their starter, then they might have a big main, and then they're really full. And you've talked about this before, like you want the dessert, but if you're going to have the dessert, you're going to feel very, very sick. You know what I mean? Because you're just like, oh, the brownie is too much, but I really want it. It's a desire for you. So, introducing the Digesty Nap Pod, right? Because dessert shouldn't be optional, right? So ever finish your main and think, I'm full, but emotionally I'm not done here. That's why we created that's why we created the digesting nap. A 15, 20 minute micro nap pod designed to help you make room for dessert and a coffee without rolling home in shame. So how it works. After your main course, step into the digesting nap pod. Recline, relax, lightly question your life choices, wake up refreshed and magically ready for your tiramisu. No awkward waiting. No, should we skip dessert, Lies? Absolutely not. So, how are we going to price it? It's affordable luxury, of course. So you have €8 per nap, depending on where you live. Obviously, price charges and everything may change. €12 for couples if you both want to endure in this process together, and €5 if you promise you're just resting your eyes. Okay. Tipping made easy. So this takes the whole process of tipping for a meal. You know, sometimes it gets to the end of the meal, the waiter comes up and they have the card machine now and it says 10%, 15%, 25%. It can be a bit awkward because sometimes you don't want to tip them too much, sometimes you don't want to tip them too little. So the idea is this takes the whole tipping process out of the meal. So that all the money that's made from the tip from the pods are then rendered to the waiting staff for that evening. So instead of calculating percentages, just tip the pod. Even if €1 feels generous when you've just slept. So why I think restaurants will love it is a faster table turnover. It's a bigger dessert sale, less awkward bill splitting conversations like I just stated before, and customers leaving happy, caffeinated, and slightly confused. It's perfect for date nights, anniversary dinners, people who say I shouldn't and then absolutely do, anyone who believes naps fix everything. And these are some reviews we've got back from these hypothetical customers that I've just made up. I woke up ready for cheesecake. This was Dave. He's full again. And then, and then my second one is saved us arguing over the tip. Emma was left impressed. And then, as I finish our slogan, digesting nap, dessert, coffee, no regrets. Come on. What do you think?
Can you be honest with me? Did you get those reviews from ChatGPT?
No. Okay, let me just put this out there. I came up.
The one thing I was like, did he throw this pitch into ChatGPT and get him to like just give him like a handful of reviews? That would be on brand and in tone.
I'll be honest, right? I came up with the whole concept, right? I gave it like the whole concept, the whole idea of the tipping method, the whole idea of the percentages. I came up with the idea. I did put it into ChatGPT, of course I did. But I did say to give me. I came up with the reviews, which I'm actually happy about. I thought they were good. Come on,
they're so good that I thought they were at ChatGPT.
Yeah. The only thing I asked ChatGPT was like, give me reasons for why restaurants love it. Because I was not going to come up with that. And I did say, work with me on the pricing, because originally I'd priced it at like €20 just to have a 15-minute power nap. Like, no one's going to pay that. Oh, I also did say that this will take me between 20 to 28 years to become a millionaire. That's the price estimated time it gave me. So
okay.
So I want you to judge me on my, first of all, my idea. My second one I want you to judge me on is the concept. The idea is the concept. The concept is originally how I presented it, and then overall, what would you give it the main score? So there's your three I'm working on. Be honest. Be brutally honest.
Do you want me to be brutally honest?
Brutally honest.
I think it's fucking crazy. I think
it is called ridiculous.
Yeah,
it is.
Okay.
Yeah, okay.
I'll be honest. It's not something I would ever pay for myself. I'm not gonna lie to you, brother. One thing. I don't know how to say this without like making you feel bad, but like.
Oh, I can't wait for yours now.
No, that's fair. No, I want you to do the same with me. Poke holes.
Okay.
Okay. One of the things you said there that I'm gonna poke a hole in, right? I feel like such an ass doing this, but when you said it and I just went, no. Was table turnover. Because what's going to happen is you're going to say, let's say you've had your starters, your mains, and that took 50 minutes, right?
Yeah.
What you're then proposing the restaurant does is take you away from said table, but hold said table. So you can go have a nap. Then 20 minutes later, bring it back to the same table.
No.
So you can sit there for another 15 minutes.
So what I didn't specify is there's a separate seating area for just dessert area.
Okay, right. That is important context to that, right?
Yeah.
I also
Okay.
think the
So
price point's a bit mad as well. Like
€8 for an app, 12 for couples, and 5 for just resting your eyes.
so for the couples nap, do they get to nap together?
Yes,
You
yeah,
get to,
yeah.
so, like, is
There's
there some spoonage? So you're paying £8 for a spoon,
you're paying 12 per
12 for a
couple.
spoon.
So
Okay,
yeah,
do you
so
know what?
six, six
In
each.
that context, right, with that
Yeah,
added information, there is some value there. I think me and Simone would have paid for that before we
yeah,
moved in together, right?
yeah,
Because
yeah, exactly.
this isn't
And
a
it has
very
happened. Like it has happened. Like I've gone out for a meal with Nicola, and I've like really wanted a dessert, but we've had such a huge starter remain, and like a couple of drinks as well added on, and you're like super full, and you want the dessert. Like like me and you've talked about this before. I think me and you've gone for a meal, and we both wanted the dessert, but we've been super full, and we end up having the dessert, and then I'm actually feeling so sick. Oh,
yeah.
actually, do you know, actually, this is a good actually one I want to remember. We went to the Coronas gig, and we got a starter and a main, and I didn't get the dessert. No, sorry, I got the dessert and you didn't get the dessert, and I was so full in the line. Like I was stuffed. But I wish that because we were on a bit of a time limit there, we had to run off somewhere. But this is kind of like an idea. Like I'm thinking, like this is only going to work in like Dubai, in like a fancy 5-star
Where people have money to
hotel
piss away for
restaurant,
nothing.
where people have money to piss away for napping, paying 12
Yeah,
quid for
yeah.
naps. Okay, anyway, right. First of all, judge me on the concept. Out of 5. Be honest, purely
I'm
honest.
gonna give you a 3 out
A
of
three. I'm
5.
happy with that. I'm happy with that. I'll take that. I'll take that.
Okay.
Okay, so my idea, you gave me a 3. Second is how I presented it.
Presentation, I'm gonna give you a 4.
All
I'm gonna
right.
give you
Oh,
a
that's
4. I
respectful.
think you
That's
were fairly
respectful.
solid. I think the enthusiasm and you thought you thought a lot of things through, and even when I had something to judge you on, you had an answer for it. So I'm gonna give you a 4 on that.
Right, and then the overall concept, if you were to like, if you were on the Dragon's Den and you were like saying, all right, am I going to invest or not? Out of 5, what percentage of you, or what on like a scoreboard would you actually invest in the product? Probably a 1, I'm still, I guess.
I'm gonna, well, do you know what? I'm gonna go for 3 again
Right.
because and it's I think originally I would have gone for would have gone 2, but because you had an answer to my question, a question
Yeah.
where I was being quite critical, I'm
Yeah,
gonna give you a
yeah.
3 on that because I
Okay.
respect that. You know,
Okay, I'll
and
take it.
when you put the add the context of it's a thing for like luxury. It's for people
Yeah,
who
yeah.
have money. It's not like going
Oh, yeah,
into
yeah. No.
like
It's not
it's
for
not
broke
something that's
people,
going
no.
into. I'm not saying like it's not going to like a really common restaurant. Like I know this isn't a restaurant. I know this is like a way simplified, but it's not going into the likes of a McDonald's or a Burger King. Like it's going into or an
It
Albar
wouldn't be an
chicken.
O'Brien's. It wouldn't be an O'Brien's, put it that way.
No, like it'd have to be in somewhere that like is at least striving for an experience, and your bill's going to cost you at least 60 quid the second you walk in the
Yeah.
door, regardless of what you order.
Exactly. It's kind of a gimmick. That's kind of like the idea behind it. It's kind of like it's
Okay.
the whole concept of it. It's kind of like overdone. The one thing I was actually impressed with was like the reviews.
Yeah, the reviews were good. I liked the reviews.
Woke up ready for cheesecake, Dave, in brackets full again.
Is that his surname?
Like, no. And then it was like, saved us arguing over the tip, Emma in brackets impressed. I was actually chuffed with that. People in work thought it was absolutely naff. They were like, there's no way I'm ever paying for that. That's a terrible idea. So
Okay.
I'm intrigued to see what way you're going here. So I'll let you take the lead here.
Okay, so my idea is so you
Right.
know the way you have an app like Waves, for example. So
Right.
Waves, for anybody that doesn't know, is a driving app, and it basically lets you monitor traffic in real time. Now I know Google Maps lets you do that, but
Right.
Waves will like do it with like let's be honest, dude. The main thing people use Waves for is learner drivers looking out for guards and making sure they don't get pulled over at checkpoints and stuff, right?
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
what my idea is, I would like to create an app that
Right.
will monitor traffic in public spaces. And I don't mean
Okay.
traffic as in cars, I mean traffic as in people. So, for example, if I want to go to the shopping centre, I
Right.
want to basically, as cars come in, they have their regs scanned, which is pretty common. And I don't want the regs publicly, but I want to know how many cars are in said car park at a time. Or on a bus, people, if they can just tap because it's the thing on the train, so I think you could easily implement this on the buses, where and it's on the Lewis as well, where you tap on, tap off, so you can see how full a bus is. So It's basically a way of seeing how packed a certain public space is, and this can range from, parks to buses to shopping centers to, any like kind of outdoor public space, and see how packed it is. And I'm thinking, like, sometimes you go on your time on buses, and you've got a bit of flexibility with your bus time. You don't need to specifically get the next bus. You can get any bus within the next hour. I'd like to see how packed a certain bus is.
Right. Why?
So I'd be like, okay, there's a 39A coming down the road now, and it's fucking packed. But there's a 39A that's due in 10 minutes, and it's empty. So I'd like to be able to see, okay, this one's a bit emptier. I'm not in as much of a rush, so I'm going to go and get that one instead, because it'll be a more comfortable journey for me. Or the gym. If I go to the gym and I want to go, and me and you have said this many times, that we like to go to the gym when it's quieter. I like to go to the gym and just lock in. I hate going to the gym when it's packed. So I'd like to be able to look on this app and see, okay, the gym's really busy right now. I'm not going to go right now. I'll maybe go in an hour or two's time when it gets a bit quieter. Or like, say if I wake up first thing in the morning and see, Jesus, it's actually packed this morning for some reason. I'm gonna skip it, or I'm gonna jump in before the crowds get there. And then likewise, like, like this time of year, people go, like, the shops are just crazy busy constantly this year. Like, so it's hard to kind of guess when to go do your shopping. So Simone started going at night time. Maybe we'd if we wanted to go back to daytime, like, just look at this app and go, and like, you can control this by people just like scanning registers, tapping cards. And I don't want to know personal details. I couldn't give a rat's who's there. It's not like I'm trying to avoid somebody and like, Imran and Nicola are in Liffey Valley. I don't care about your personal information. I just want numbers of people, where they are. So that's my, I just have an app like that for public spaces. That's my
idea. So essentially it's looking at capacity flow. So you're looking at the amount of people in certain areas. Like, for example, you said there, the gym, if the bus is packed, if, let's say you want to drive into in town, I don't know why you would, but let's say if you wanted to drive up onto O'Connell Street, but you want to find, okay, if I take the back roads here, it'd be a bit quicker.
Exactly.
If that's
sort of already a thing on Google Maps.
That's what I was about to say.
It's very dependent on, it's like Google Maps will tell you it's packed if they can see loads of people are using Google Maps. Like, so
of course,
let's say you've got 10 cars on the street, and 2 of those cars are only using Google Maps at that time. It's gonna say, there's low traffic. Whereas, like, if you've got 8 of those cars using Google Maps, then it's going to be say, traffic's really bad. Like, no, that's just a very like small case in point example. But it's already there in place for like road traffic in a way, and I would like to kind of just move that,
make it more people-based,
places.
maybe like people-based flows rather than like looking at, like you were saying there, instead of like app flows and vehicle flows, like looking at more about how many people are in a certain area rather than like using vehicles or using like a gym, like a property pace, rather than that kind of stuff. Okay, I like the idea. There's a few holes, right? It's going to cost you a lot of funding, right? Because you're not focusing on just one area. That's the thing. You're going to have to work with Dublin Bus. You're going to have to work with train lines. You're going to have to work with the Lewis. You're going to have to look at capacity flow within like a certain area. So you're going to need information from, let's say, wireless connections. Because if everyone's connected to like a Wi-Fi connection, you're going to need like, I don't know how do they call it? It's like a wireless ratio flow to see how many people are in a certain area. You're going to need to see, a lot of money is going to have to go into the product.
Yeah.
But I also do, but okay, I'm kind of going off here.
There's a lot of upfront investment, but there's not a lot of long term. Like, once the money's spent, it's like, it's just, and people might be like, how are you making money? It's like,
where's your revenue?
It's an app, so you can run ads on the app, or if you want, you can charge people a subscription fee. That's not the model I would want to make it a free service.
Free service.
Like, so I would then like want to charge people,
for skipping ads.
No, not for skipping ads, but like, so say it's part of like, I would like to charge Dublin Bus for the service because it will get more people onto. It would get more people onto buses.
Yeah.
So I know. I sometimes go, fuck that. I'm not getting the bus because I don't want to be stuck on a packed, sweaty bus. Whereas if I can tell if this bus isn't packed and sweaty, I'm going to get on that bus. It's better for the
instead of getting a taxi or something like that.
Exactly.
Yeah, okay.
It's better for the environment because you're not getting in your car, you're going to get in the bus that way. And it's better for the consumer
Right.
And then Dublin Bus can use it as a tax write-off, and they can say, "Oh, we're helping the economy in that way because we're supporting this initiative." And I feel it's a win on all grounds. It's a win for the consumer, it's a win for the environment, and it's a win for the businesses that get involved.
Okay, I'm trying to see where the ridiculous is coming in here because I think this is a good idea. Okay, anyway, I'll judge you
It's ridiculous
first.
in the sense that GDPR would never fucking allow it.
Oh, never, never, not in this day and age.
This is definitely like me being like, I don't fucking like being
Packed buses. No one
packed
does.
buses. I don't like being in the gym when it's too busy. I don't. This is just me being a moody bastard. Is pretty much is the root of this concept.
Right. So first of all, right, your concept. I think it's a good idea. I do think it's a good idea. I'm going to give you a 4 on the concept. I think you have the right mindset. I do think this would help in a lot of cases, especially in Dublin where it's a very packed city, especially in like the city centre. And like you were saying, they're getting buses and transport trying to head home. Because we've been like, sometimes you'd be waiting. We'd be waiting on the quays and you'd be waiting for a bus to come and the bus comes and it's absolutely packed and the bus driver says, I'm not letting any more people on. You're waiting 15 minutes for absolutely nothing. You could have walked down and could have got the train home and then just walked from the train station home or got a bus in there, you know what I mean?
Can I give you another example of this as well? So imagine you're in that situation, you get to your bus stop in the quays and you go, oh fuck's sake, the next 2 buses that are coming are packed. Okay, it's freezing cold out, I want to go get myself a coffee.
Right.
You could check this app and go, okay, let's say I love Butlers, right? I love a Butler's hot chocolate, right? There's loads of Butlers around, but they're always packed. So I could go, all right, there's 3 Butlers within walking distance of here that are heading towards the bus stop. 2 of them have got massive lines. There's another one here that doesn't have a massive line, or it's not as busy. So I'm going to go to that one, then take a detour, go get your thing real quick, and then you can go to your bus stop instead of gambling on, okay, should I go to Henry Street? Should I go to Abbey Street? Should I go to the one on Stephen's Green? You can just say, okay, no, I know which one I'm going to go to because I can see the queue time, and then you can walk to your bus stop.
Yeah, it is a good idea, but I'm just saying, where is Shaun getting the money for this? I'm saying he needs
That's
lot of
No,
yeah.
It will involve a lot of upfront investment, but it won't involve continue with your thing. Like you need staff to constantly clean that part and staff to turn that space over. This is a model that once all the investment goes into. So let's say this costs 200 grand to do.
Way more, but yeah.
But let's just say it costs 200 grand to do. Once you make that money back, it doesn't actually cost people more. You will obviously have to maintain the app and update things. And there will be those little things, but there's no massive upkeep of expenses. Right. It's not got a lot of overhead.
No. Okay. Let's go back because we're cautious of time here. So I'll go first. Right. Sorry. First, your idea. I'm going to give it a 4 out of 5 because I think it's a great idea. I do think it would be very beneficial if you lived in a city and especially near Christmas time where it can be absolutely packed in shopping centre areas like Blanchardstown, Dundrum can be another area like that kind of thing. So I do think it would be a brilliant idea to work. Second, your presentation. Okay, I do think your presentation was good. I do think you were able to determine each thing, but I'm trying to find I did say ridiculous millionaires idea, and I don't see the only thing that's ridiculous is that it would never work in confidentiality, like you were saying, or GDPR would never in this day and age, absolutely not. So I do think there's a lot of holes in it, and I do think you would need a lot of money of investment. I would say you probably need near about $250,000. You know what I'm saying? Maybe a bit more, maybe even $500,000. So I do think it would take you maybe 50 years to make €1 million off this. But I'm going to give you a 3, right? But overall, I'm actually going to give you a 3.5. I think you have the better idea out of the both of us. I do think you would definitely make more profit in the long run. I do think because I feel like my business will... it will be a thing for a couple of months and it'll be popping on TikTok and then it'll just be for another forgotten Chinese product. That kind of way. Shout out to my Chinese homies. So, yeah, I like that. I think we'll move on to, because I know we are loving our speaking today, so we'll move on to our pop culture.
Yes,
loving our speaking.
This is why we set up a podcast, so we can love our speaking even more.
We can love our speaking even more. Yes, correct. We'll move on to our pop culture / current affairs, and I thought because we're coming to the end of the year, we'll have a look back at our Favorite movie of the year, our favorite TV series. Sean suggested that we do our favorite album, our favorite song, and then a personal favorite moment of the year. So let's start with the movie. So what's your favorite? It doesn't have to come out. I was thinking, like, did it have to come out this year, or are we just gonna say
I
like our
have
favorite movie
options.
we
I have
watched this year?
options for both.
Right.
I wrote down my favorite one that came out this year, and then I also wrote like another film that I watched that didn't come out this year, but I also really
Okay.
really
Right.
enjoyed
So
watching it.
give me your favorite movie this year.
Sinners.
Yeah, I wrote Sinners as well.
Sinners was just fucking class.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if it wins a lot of awards this year. For me, I think a lot of people can agree. It's a movie that hasn't, there's not a movie that I've watched that's very similar to it, and I think that's why I enjoyed it so much. It was so left field, but also very simplistic in terms of like the ideas behind the film. And if you haven't seen it, definitely make some time to watch it because I thought it was brilliant. I thought the acting in it was brilliant. I love the color schemes, especially when they go that whole scene in the barnyard.
It was all shot
That's
on film as well, which I love.
yeah, which is I think, and also I do think it's probably one of Michael B. Jordan's like best performances. Like, I'm very very judgmental of him as well because of his like popularity. I do used to think he was a bit overrated as an actor, but I have to say he did a great job in it. I also wrote down here. Sorry, I know you're going to say something.
Sorry,
I'll let
no.
you say that. I wrote down. Sorry, you go.
Sorry,
You go. You go.
it's just a quick one.
Yeah, yeah.
We spoke a few weeks ago. Somebody had sent in a dilemma, and they were like they wanted to get into film and TV, and like asking like how do I get in? That is such a great film because it's got a fucking brilliant cast. It was shot on film, not digital. The director's incredible. Like I think that's like a brilliant film to like enter if you're looking to like broaden your horizon on films and movies and stuff like that, like that's outside of like the pop culture landscape, like, and Sinners was a hugely popular film, like, but I feel like that's like a really good sweet spot. Sorry, I interrupted you there, but I
No,
want
no.
to get that in.
Yeah, yeah, of course, I agree with you there. Another honorable mention I had that I kind of wrote this year is a movie called Weapons. I don't know if you've seen it. It's a kind of horror slash mystery movie. But for me, it wasn't the concept of the film. It was just the way the cinematography was done and the way it was kind of directed through. It's also based on a true story that happened a couple of years ago in America. So I definitely suggest watching it. The acting in it is brilliant. Julia Garner's in it. I really, really enjoy her as an actress. I think she's brilliant. If you haven't seen Ozark, she's fantastic in that. So yeah, that's my second kind of honorable mention. Do you have another one you want to mention?
Yeah, so this is not a film that came out this year. It came
Yeah,
out 2024, but I only caught up on it this year. Was
yeah.
The Substance.
Oh, brilliant. Yeah,
The
great movie.
Substance, a great film. Like really, it's an uncomfortably brilliant watch. Like it's a film that makes you feel uncomfortable sitting there looking at you. But it's like that's why it's so good. Like it
Mm,
executes and its message is so clear. There's no
mm.
guessing what this movie's about, and I really really enjoyed it. I'd say.
Also was a big revival for Demi Moore as well. He was like, obviously we probably wouldn't have known her that much growing up, but our parents probably, with Demi Moore as like the it actor back then. So it was a nice revival for her career, and especially Margaret Qualley as well. She's brilliant, and if you haven't seen The Maid, the CV series, highly recommend watching it. It's brilliant. So we'll move
I
on.
I actually
Sorry,
have
no.
like sorry, I just want to quickly throw in a dishonorable
Yeah,
mention as well. I just when I
yeah,
was looking through my letterboxd on my films, I was like, oh, and I just had to point out one film that was so fucking bad. It was just it was actually such an insult to watch the film. You'll have one or two movies a year that when you
that you
watch it,
waste your
that was
time
a
on.
fucking waste of my time, and I feel insulted that I
Yeah,
watched it. And I'm not sure if this film came out at the start of 25 or the end of 24, but I'm gonna call it out anyway. Marching Powder. Danny
Marching
Dyer,
Powder.
Marching Powder.
Don't
It
think I've seen
was
that.
absolutely horrendous. It was a film about like football hooliganism, and like from the trailer kind of sold me on, oh, this is going to be a story of like how a Danny Dyer, a football hooligan, is going to like learn and grow out of this and become like an upstanding kind of guy in some sort of way. He's going to cop on. He's going to learn why football hooliganism and the bad kind of tropes around that, why people feel the way they feel about it. The film like starts and finishes at the exact same point. Like it was just dreadful. Sorry, just a dishonorable mention.
Yeah, I also don't particularly like Donnie Dyer. I think he's a terrible chav actor, and I think that he just fits into that role. So yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, moving on. TV series. I'll go first this time. I really got into anime this year. I know Simone is a big anime fan as well. And for me, I watched this 1980s anime called Cowboy Bebop. And I actually found out that a lot of directors now actually use this as like their basis for color schemes. It's such a simplistic storyline. It's only like 15 episodes or something like that, and it just runs through kind of like a sci-fi western like town, and then like it kind of brings characters along with it. But it's just like a nice, easy introduction to anime for anyone to watch. Highly suggest that. And then another TV series. Both my TV series actually didn't come out in 2025. I just put that out there. Another one that they're just two I've watched. Another one, and I've said this to Shaun to watch so many times. I don't know if he's watched it, but Beef. It's on Netflix. It's honestly one of the best TV dramas I've ever watched. It's kind of like a comedy drama. It's made by A24, the production company, so I pretty much enjoy everything they make recently over the past couple of years. But highly recommend watching it. Brilliant acting in it. I love your man, Stephen Young. He's in it. He's brilliant. He's from The Walking Dead, if you haven't seen that, and also Invincible, like Shaun said there. So yeah, they're my two mentions of the year. What about for yourself?
Yeah, this has been a great year for TV. I have to say,
Yeah,
it was really hard to
yeah.
to whittle this down. So I have three. I have one show that I loved that didn't come out this year. I have a show that's come out this year, and another limited series as well. So the show that came out this year that I've actually I've really enjoyed it, and I can't overstate how much I think everybody should watch the show. And we've talked about it a little bit over the last few weeks, but it's Pluribus.
Yeah, it's on my list. It's going to
It's
be watching over the next week or two.
insane. I was only talking. We watched the newest episodes. This hasn't finished yet. The finale is out on Christmas Eve, which is before we're recording this, and it like every single episode has had me locked in and engaged, and like it's such a, you know how when you watch Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul, when the cinematography is just popping and it just even without the plot, it just looks great. You know, it doubles down on those type of things, but the plot is so interesting as well. Like it's so simple but effective as well, and it's one of those shows that you really have to go into blind. Like you should not go into the pilot knowing nothing, and it will fucking blow your mind. It's one of the best pilots I've ever watched as well. Similar to Breaking Bad, the Breaking Bad pilot's incredible, and just most things
Yeah,
Vince Gilligan does.
Vince Gilligan's just a legend, to be
He
honest.
just, yeah, he just doesn't do, he just, and this is a Breaking Bad kind of reference as well, but he just does not do any half measures, you know.
Facts.
He only
Yeah.
does full measures. The other one that I wanted to mention as well was a limited series that came out at the start of this year, which we spoke about at the beginning of the podcast. Was Adolescence.
Yeah, I had a feeling you were going to bring that up.
Oh,
Yeah,
Adolescence blew me away, man. It's just
yeah.
like the
Very good.
technique,
It's a very good TV show.
the acting, the direction is just a one of a like. I don't think another show like that is going to get made ever again, just because of how effective it is and how it approached things. Just
It came out at a
everybody's
good time as well in the
yeah.
year, I think. I think it's very situated with what's kind of going on in the UK, and kind of like looking at the dangers of social media and stuff like that too as well. So I think I do agree with you. Yeah, although I
And
wasn't hugely blown away, but I do think it was a great TV series. But yeah,
yeah,
go on.
I loved it. It was, and like I said, it was really hard to whittle down TV for this year because
Yeah,
like you've got also The Bear came out this year. You had Severance as well.
yeah.
You have Stranger Things that's coming out at the moment. You have what was the Squid Game as well, which came to a close. Like it was such a great year for TV. So the one that I have here that was not a show that came out this year, but I watched and I fucking loved was Dexter. And I talked about Dexter so much on the podcast throughout the year, but Dexter and me and Simone were spoiled for choice because we just started. I just said to Simone, "Do you fancy watching Dexter?" Because I've talked about it in the pod before that
It's
like
the big five. Yeah,
I've wanted to do the big five for so long, which I've now finished as well. I finished The Wire last week as well, so I've now watched Breaking Bad, The Sopranos, The Wire, Better Call Saul, and
Breaking Bad.
Dexter. Dexter.
Oh, sorry, Dexter. Yeah,
And the only two that kind of aren't in there that people might swap in and out is Game of Thrones, which I have seen, but I didn't finish it because I wasn't really into it. The Walking Dead. I will get
yeah.
to The Walking Dead at some point.
Great.
But Dexter, we started Dexter at like the perfect time because we didn't know anything about the Dexter fandom, Dexter universe, the production and stuff. But we started
Yeah.
it, and as we finished it, the sequel series had been, they just dropped the trailer basically. So
Yeah.
we got more Dexter throughout the year. So it really took us like 8 months to do it because like we finished the main show, and then there was a prequel show, and then there was two sequel shows, and it's just brilliant.
Yeah, I agree with you.
So loved Dexter.
Yeah, I highly recommend. Dexter is. I told Sean before. I've actually watched the first two seasons of Dexter, and I'm kind of in the process now of doing the big five myself. Sean's a bit more far ahead than I am. I have to get through Dexter. I'm currently watching Sopranos, and then The Wire also. And then I think for Sean, then his one there, he was saying like I've already seen The Walking Dead. And what was the other one you said? Game of Thrones.
Game of Thrones.
Game of Thrones I've seen as well.
I
Yeah.
watched the first three seasons of it. I just wasn't.
Yeah,
It wasn't really.
it also is.
myself.
It's kind of like them, kind of like them fantasy shows are kind of like it has to be, your kind of niche. If you're into that kind of style of filmmaking, you'll definitely like it. Sean also wanted to mention, looking at like the music kind of idea. So, album of the year. What's your album of the year?
My favorite album of the year was an album called "Dreams on Toast" by The
Oh,
Darkness.
The Darkness. Yeah, I have them on
Yeah,
my list. I haven't got down around to them yet. Actually.
I'm a big fan of The Darkness. And I have to be honest, I wasn't like expecting an awful lot from the album, but like it's just, and even at that one, I was kind of like looking at my albums that I've been listening to this year. I was like, what have I been going back to? And like this album for me, it may not be like technically, and it might not be the most like acclaimed album, but for me, it's just an album that I went back to quite a lot. It's fun, and it's not very heavy. Like I'm really into like heavy rock music and like a bit of metal and stuff, and like The Darkness do definitely lean into that, but this album wasn't that. It was a
Yeah.
bit sillier, but in a good way. Like it was a more fun listen. So yeah, I'm gonna say for my album Dreams on Toast, and I also have a song as well which I kind
Yeah.
of grew to love, and I think this was also the end of 2024, but I really grew to love it this year, was Messy by Lola Young.
Great song.
Great song. That's
Great artist as well. I think she's a lot of potential.
notes. Yeah.
No, no notes. So my album of the year is actually funny enough because I knew he had made music over the years, but he's very well known for Victorious. You probably know about this. Leon Thomas, really, he came out with his music career recently. He released an album called Mutt. I have to say it really got me into the R&B kind of funk style of music, and I have to say every song is a banger. It's just real feel good music. I actually think it came out at the end of 2024, like in December. But I have to say one of my favorite albums of the year. Listen to it all the time. It's great. And then a song. Actually, my song is actually an old FIFA banger, and it's Young Folks. Yeah, you definitely know the song. Everyone does. By Peter, Bjorn, and John. It's just a feel good song. It's been coming in back into my playlist recently. Kind of like an indie favorite. So I have to say that. And then for a current song, I actually don't have anything for a current song.
No, did
I have actually this year for music. I haven't been too up to date on
You could
potential
just say
like
TV show by Sean Finn. That'd be really cool.
TV show by Shaun.
Yeah, love that song. Great tune. Fellow
I like everything you make, brother. I like everything.
except Live My Life. Fuck
Oh
that
my
song.
god, fuck that song. I love Sean, but fuck that song. Okay, and then on our finish off this kind of concept, we're gonna look at our favorite personal moment of the year. Do you want to go first?
Sure. Yeah, I was kind of like Imran like put the like kind of concept for this section in today, but I was like, I think it'd be nice to like just celebrate our wins, and like the first thing that kind of came to mind was like me losing weight, but I talked enough about that last year. Not last year, last week, and
Last year.
I've already pulled myself off enough over that one on the podcast.
Yeah.
So,
Oh,
I'm
baby.
gonna say passing my driving test, like the
Yoo-hoo!
high that I got off that in April.
Oh, it's the best film.
It's like it genuinely like was one of the best feelings of my life. It really was. Like, I'm really proud of myself, and it feels like so much has happened since then. It doesn't feel like that was
Yeah.
this year, honestly. But yeah,
I actually
and then-
remember that so clearly as well.
Man, I was so fucking buzzing with that. And honourable mention as well goes to coming up to Switzerland as well. That was probably my number 2 or number 3.
That was great.
Yeah.
because we actually hadn't seen each other in a while as well, so it was a nice little catch up as well. And it's funny because I remember the feeling I had when I passed my driving test off, and man, it literally like I'd never had a rush like that in the car. I had to drive to work straight after, and I was just on such a high, and I like was blasting music in the car. I was like, yeah, fucking man, it was just the best feeling ever. So I can understand why that's a good mention for Shaun. For me personally, I think really like making the apartment into a home, because when we had moved in October and it was very bare, and like only recently over like the past 2 3 months, like the house now feels like a home. Like we've got we got like the new plates, we've got stuff on the wall, and we had actually had a lot of people that came over this year, like a lot of family, yourself and Simone. We had my mates Jack and Laura came over, so it was like the first time we started like bringing people into our home, which was really nice. So that would probably be an honorable, probably my best moments of the year. And then just an honorable mention recently is like I told Shaun before the podcast that I recently got promotion in my job, so that's going to help out in the long term for us, with savings. And obviously it's always great when you get a promotion in your job for anyone. So yeah.
Yeah.
Nice. So I think overall actually has been not the worst year. I'd say there's always room for improvement, but I think it's been a good year for me.
Surprised neither of us said start the podcast as well. That's also honourable mention for the two of us, I'd say, as well, in February. That doesn't even need to be mentioned.
Greatness shows itself. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? So I know we are cautious for time, and we have done a lot of what did I say earlier? The love for speaking.
We've done a lot of love for speaking today.
Yeah, we should just change the podcast to the love for speaking.
Yeah.
So yeah, we will run into your distance dilemmas for the week. This is the time in the podcast where we dissect our listeners' dilemmas that they send in to us. I shuffle them around. I think I say this before every episode, or Shaun does, when we get into this section. But yes, we are going to dissect and talk about two that our listener sent in today. So I'll read the first one. I've grown up being used to having long distance friends and family, as my parents are from different countries. But recently I've been feeling that I'm missing out on a lot of things as I've moved to a new city, and now the majority of my friends are all long distance. Do you have any advice for helping with the FOMO?
I think this is one you got to take the lead on. This
Yeah. So this is it. Well, you can talk about maybe the opposite side to what I'm talking about. And this is kind of funny because we actually spoke about FOMO. I don't know if it was last week's episode or the week before, so it is kind of on the new concept. What I would say is put in more effort. Because there is a decency in life to just let things render on and kind of forget about what's important to you. Everyone has a phone. You can pick up, give your mate a phone call. And I know it's a bit daunting because me and Shaun have talked about it before. Me and Shaun could live 5 minutes from each other, and I mightn't talk to him for, say, 2.5 weeks, where realistically I'm 5 minutes down the road, I can just pop over and see him. And this kind of is the thing with a lot of people. Like, life gets in the way, it gets busy, I understand, but it takes 2 seconds to pick up the phone, text your mate, how are you getting on? So what I would suggest is put in a bit of effort. I've done it a lot more this year. I'm really conscious of like looking at my friends, making sure they're all right, and vice versa. Once you start the initial process, it's great because they see you're putting in effort. They'll vice versa touch you the same. Also with the FOMO, again, I don't necessarily experience it myself, but what we kind of spoke about prior 2 weeks ago is don't be envious of them, be envious for them. So what I mean by that is accept that they're having a great time. Maybe they're at a concert or thing, be happy for them. And then vice versa, you also can be like, I wish I was there with them, not that I'm envious of being there. So there's lots of ways you can contradict that as well. Also making plans. I think this is something I didn't bring up 2 to 3 weeks ago. I'm coming back in March to Ireland, and me and Shaun have already spoken about doing a live podcast, and also maybe going for a bit of grub. So like making plans with your friends for when you do return home is also a great idea, I think, to deal with FOMO, because it means you have like something to look forward to. And I think a lot of, like, recently me and Nicola were talking about, a lot of life is, life can be mundane, but once you've always something to look forward to, it also kind of breaks the barrier then of like dropping into like depression. I think there's like a study we did in college about this, where it is our brain is also always looking for like what's the next thing. And I think like Sean can agree with me here. Like it's always like what's even with Marvel, like it's always like what's the next movie? When's the next movie date coming out? And it's the same with concerts, music. We're very much like as humans always want more and what's the next biggest thing. So I think once you've always got plans in place, it's a great way for yourself to like get over this hump of FOMO because it is present and I have experience of while living here. But I think once you kind of put these into your life early on, it's also a great way to then grow into everything that comes after. And you can kind of talk maybe Sean on the opposite
Yeah,
side of that, maybe
well,
like seeing friends living abroad.
yeah, like I kind of said before you previously about like I think it's important to like get into a place where you're happy to see other people living these lives, and like while it can be tough to like, I talked about it from my end of like watching Imran like, live his life in Switzerland, or watching other friends like, seeing other parts of the world that I would like to see. Like, it can be, you can be envious of that, but like I think, it's important to maybe like shift the focus on trying to be happy for that person, that they're going out and they're living their life and they're doing things the way they want to, like, and appreciating that. I really like what you said there about like having always got plans made, like always have, a plan with said person. I think that's like, a really big hand in that. Like I just I think that's a great way to look at it. Like, instead of like, let's say it's somebody's birthday, for example, and you're like, oh, they're all gone out and they're having a good time. They're on the sesh, or they're having a party, or they're having a movie night, or they're doing something like that. And while it's very easy to feel a lot of FOMO for not being there, I think having plans to be like, okay, but I will see them in 2 months, I will see them in 3 months, I will see them at their birthday or their Christmas or my birthday, or vice versa. Like, whatever. I think that will do a lot to help in that situation.
Yeah, I think definitely like, and that's the one thing I kind of been noticing over like the past kind of couple of weeks is once you've got something to look forward to, it's also like it's kind of like a thing to motivate you because like it might even be something small like even like going to the cinema or like we used to say like oh getting like sometimes like the best part of your day is going to get a chicken roll or like it
Mm.
literally can just be like the smallest thing that'll just brighten up your day. So I think that's probably my biggest thing that I'm starting to learn about with FOMO and that kind of concept. Kind of similar to what we had a couple of weeks ago. And we'll move on to the second one here. I started a side hustle I was passionate about, but now it's starting to feel like a burden. How do you know when to take a break versus when you're just being lazy? Maybe you want to go first on this one?
Yeah, I think there's that common phrase that like, if you love what you do, you'll never work a day in your life. And while that's true to a certain extent, work is still work, and work. Even if you love your career, it's maybe not something you're extremely passionate about. Sometimes it's going to get in the way of life, you know. So, I've had this loads of times. I had a period this year where like I felt a lot of burnout towards music because we gigged so much and I put so much into promo and like video edits and loads of different things, and I kind of like was like, what's this all for? And like, I got burnt out, like, and I needed to take that break. And I'm a big believer in breaks are just as important as the work, and I think that's true whether it comes to your passions, your hobbies, your career, like your interactions with people. I do think breaks are so important. So, just because you have your side hustle or you have your passion, that like I'm assuming as well. Like I don't know fully because these are all anonymous, but I
Yeah,
assume
of course.
you have a full time job. You're working 5 days a week, and then you're maybe doing this on the side 2 to 3 days a week in some capacity. Like that's exhausting. That is
Oh
so
yeah.
exhausting. Like again, like, everyone's circumstances are going to be different. That's just like a general assumption because that's a fairly you know, I would say normal kind of thing for somebody who's trying to do a side hustle as well. Like, and that doesn't need to be 3 days also doing another 8 hours. Like, that can be 4 hours per day or whatever. Or every single evening, like once you finish your 9 to 5, you're clocking on, you're doing your 5 to 9, you're trying to hustle and get your thing. Like, while it's passionate and you may love it, it doesn't mean you're lazy because you want to take a break and because you feel burnt out. I would say from and honestly from the bottom of my heart, take a break, take that breather, don't feel guilty about it, and then try to like rediscover why you love it. Like I had that, like I said, with music, and then I don't know whether it was I listened to an album or I went to a gig, or there was something that kind of reignited that spark in me. you know, and that flame will burn really high, and it will burn. It'll kind of slow down a little bit as well, like, you know. But it's important to take those breaks, to breathe, stay calm, and you know what's meant for you won't pass.
Yeah. I kind of like what you were saying there about taking the breaks because I even just kind of from my perspective of doing the podcast, we took a break. I think it's about 2 months ago now. We took a break for a month, and for me personally, like the difference and the revival of the podcast for me has been a lot better. I feel like because we put a structure in place where our podcast, kind of like the same kind of idea with the concepts, it's been a lot more flowing for me. And for someone who's like not from a background of social media, I've never really pursued anything online like music or anything like that. For me, like from an outsider's perspective, the break was the best thing for me and Sean, not only from like the point of view of like catching up with your mate and things like that, because Sean did have a lot going on that month. We were still in contact, of course, but it was a nice refresher. And sometimes, like you were saying there could be times where you feel like you're peaking in something, and then also a time there's time for just resting. And I think that was like a perfect time for me personally with the podcast, because we've been doing this for so long. I think it was, how many, do you remember how many weeks we were
I
like
think it
in a
was
row?
4 weeks we took off.
Like, yeah, so I meant, did you know how many weeks we were in a row doing the podcast before that? I can't remember actually.
Well, months, like it was February to August at that point, so
Yeah, so
at least 6 months, like, you know. So you're talking at least 24, 25 weeks on
yeah,
the bounce,
so,
you know,
yeah,
that we hadn't missed a week.
yeah, so you're talking 25 weeks in a row without missing a week. So it's, a lot of time, me and Sean do this podcast once a week, but a lot of the time we are still in conversation with each other. So besides that, the concept ideas we come up with, reaching out to people to get involved in the podcast, it does take time. So I do feel like there is this kind of misconception with being lazy. This person says here, versus when you're just being lazy. Sometimes it's not. If you think you're being lazy, it might just be a mindset thing. It can be like a negative aspect of thinking you're being lazy, but yourself, Sean, like not everything with music is just sitting down and playing.
No.
There's different avenues you have to look at. There's even stuff like planning for studio sessions. Like I'm sure that takes times, and people might even think as like that as like a mundane task. That's lazy. So I do really think that this person maybe, like Shaun was saying there, take your time, take your rest, but also look at the positives that you do have down in them low times where you don't have that much productivity with the passion you're going for.
Grant,
Yeah.
well, I think that's a good place to wrap things up
Yeah.
for this week. So,
Yeah.
guys, yeah, thank you very much for tuning in to the Distance Limit. This is the last episode. Was it the last? Yeah, this is going to be the last episode before the end of 2025. So, I think just for me and Imran, thank you so much for listening to the podcast this year. Whether you've been with us from the start in February, or you joined us along the way, or maybe this is your first episode, you've listened to all the way to the end. Thank you very much for tuning in. We do massively appreciate it. It's as we've said loads of times, this is a major passion project for us. And it's so lovely to have you guys interacting and engaging and sending us your dilemmas and giving us feedback and just interacting with us on social media. So yeah, just a massive thank you guys so much for your support in 2025. And we're looking forward to doing plenty more podcasts, plenty more lives, plenty more clips, all that sort of jazz in 2026. So yeah, guys, my name is Shaun. I'm in Dublin, Ireland. This is Imran. He is in Thun, Switzerland. This has been episode number 45 of our Long Distance Friendship podcast. And we will be back next year, being next Monday. We'll be back next Monday, 6 a.m. Irish time, 7 a.m. Central European time for another episode of The Distance Limit. Thank you very much and Happy New Year.
Peace.